So I hope you all are fresh and awake because I am going to ask you a question, a simple one. Now tell me, among a man and a boat, which one is living? I think the answer is quite obvious, man. Question number 2. Among a dust particle and a bacteria, which one is living? If your answer is bacteria, then congrats, you are right. But think of it, how can someone which is not even visible to us can be living? Don't worry. In this video, I'll answer this question and we'll get to know how beautifully and systematically a life runs. So, I, Jyoti Agarwal, welcome you all to Vidya Jyoti Basics of Biology. So, how can we categorize a thing as living or non-living? There is a set criteria, or we can say a set of functions. If a body can perform all these functions on its own, then it is called living. Otherwise, it is called non-living. Now, let's see what are these functions. It's very simple. Just think of yourself. First function is eating. If a body eats or if a body takes in food which can provide energy to the organism, to that body, then it is called living. Along with that, if it gets energy and it can perform tasks for itself, then it is called living. Along with that, if that body generates some waste material after consuming food and excretes that waste out, then also it is categorized as living. So excretion is also an important part. Fourth, it is last but not the least part. If the organism is able to respire, if it is able to breathe, then also it is called a living being. So, a body or an entity which can perform all these functions on its own is called a living body. But how does a living body performs all these functions? For example, us humans, we have our mouth with which we eat. We have the kidneys using which we excrete out the waste material. By eating food, we gain energy with the use of which we perform all our daily tasks. And also we breathe in oxygen and exhale out carbon dioxide. But a small creature, like I mentioned, bacteria, it is just one cell. Still it is called living. How? Because this one cell can perform all these functions on its own. That is why it is called living. But the question is, how does this one cell perform all these functions when it does not have any kidney to excrete out, it does not have any mouth to intake the food, it does not have any nostrils to intake the air, to respire, then how does it perform all these functions? For this, we need to understand first the structure of cell and then how this machinery, this whole machinery of life works. To understand this, we will take the example of our own house. First thing is, like our house has walls which separates the outside environment from the environment inside our house. Similarly, in a cell, there is an outer covering which protects or separates inside environment from the outside environment. This covering is called plasma membrane. Now, since these walls and the gate, they separate the environment, but along with that, they do not allow anybody to get inside. Like in our house, not everybody can enter except our family members and occasionally our relatives and friends. Not anybody can enter in this. Similarly, this plasma membrane do not allow any substance or any molecule to enter in it. It allows only specific molecules necessary for the cell to enter the cell. So this is called semi-permeable membrane. Its function is that it permits only certain specific molecules inside it. Now second, inside our home there is a lot of empty space. There's a lot of empty space. Somewhere we keep our furniture, at some places we keep our other essentials, and there is a lot of empty space basically. Similarly, in a cell there is a lot of empty space. We call this space as cytoplasm. Now, this empty space in our house is filled with air, but this empty space that we call as cytoplasm, inside the cell, it is filled with a fluid material or a jelly-like substance. The third thing is, since every family has a head, the head actually decides what is good and what is bad for the family. For example, in your house, the head is your grandfather. He decides what is good and what is bad for the family. Plus, he orders, he commands everybody to do certain tasks. Similarly, in a cell, there is a part, we call it as organelle. There is an organelle which is actually the head of this whole cell. This is called nucleus. Like grandfather, he orders your mother to make food. He orders your father to buy some grocery. He orders you to water the plants daily. He orders your elder sibling to read a holy book for him. Similarly, this nucleus, it orders another organelle of this cell family to make food for the cell. And this organelle is called endoplasmic reticulum. It looks something like this. It has many folds. So this is endoplasmic reticulum, ER. Nucleus, which is the head of family, it orders the endoplasmic reticulum, which is actually the mother in house, to prepare food for the cell. So it prepares food. Here the food is called, the food prepared is called protein. So ER prepares food, protein. Now, in our house, when food is prepared, your grandfather asks you to go in the kitchen and help your mother pack the lunch for your father to take to the office and serve the lunch to rest of the family members on dining table. So here, what function are you performing? You are helping in packaging the food and also transporting the food to the dining table. Similarly, here also, nucleus commands another organelle. The another organelle is Golgi body. It looks something like this. It asks this Golgi body, we call it as Golgi apparatus, to package the synthesized or the prepared food and transport this food where this food can be utilized. So Golgi body What does it do? It packages and transports the food prepared. The food we eat, it provides energy to our body. But how does it provide energy to our body? So, if this is a food particle, it goes inside the cell, it actually goes into another organelle inside the cell. This is somewhat like the shape of your footwear, and it has this kind of foldings in it. This organelle is called mitochondria. Here the food comes inside the cell, then it enters the mitochondria. Inside the mitochondria, this food gets converted into energy. This food provides energy to the cell inside this mitochondria. That is why mitochondria is also called powerhouse of the cell, because it provides power, the energy for the cell. Sometimes what happens, some foreign invaders or the robbers enters in the house. Similarly, sometimes the foreign infectious agents like this coronavirus, it enters the cell without permission. So when this happens, when this foreign particle which is harmful for the body, it enters the cell tries to kill it. How does it kill it? So cell has another organelle for it. This organelle is called lysosome. When a bacteria or an infectious agent enters in the cell, this lysosome takes that infectious agent inside it and it chops the body of this infectious agent into very small particles, hence killing this particle. When this particle is killed, now it cannot harm the body or the cell. So lysosome actually removes all the waste particle or the foreign particles from the cell. Now one very interesting thing this lysosome does is, for example, the cell, this machinery of cell, all the organelles of cells are so ill. They are so ill that they cannot be recovered now. They have to die ultimately. So to help the cell in dying, it actually bursts. This vesicle of lysosome, it bursts and a chemical is released from it which kills all the organelles and the complete cell. That is why lysosome is also called the suicidal bags, because they kill their own cell. That is what we call as suicide. Along with all this, a cell also has a vacuole. What is this vacuole? If we talk about plants, the size of this vacuole in plants is so large that 90%, almost 90% of the space inside the cell is taken up by vacuole. Why? Because this vacuole, it actually stores water and minerals in it. Why is it large in plants? Because they cannot go from one place to another to catch their prey or to take their food. What if there is no water for them? What if there is no carbon dioxide for them, which is actually their food? So in that condition, what will they do? They'll starve and they'll die. So to combat these starvation conditions, plants, they reserve some food material inside them. and that food material is stored in the vacuole. That is why in plants the size of vacuole is very big, whereas in other organisms like us or any organism that can move from one place to another, in them there is no such need of storing so much of food material. So in them vacuole is of small size. So I hope now you have understood how life runs in a cell. I talked about eating. Here the food particle enters the cell and it provides energy. That's what a living body should do. Also, the waste material that is produced inside the cell, it is excreted out from the cell. For example, this is the waste material produced in the cell. It will be covered inside a vesicle and then it will be pinched off like this from the cell. So that is how excretion in a cell takes place. So I hope now you have understood how a cell, a single cell, can maintain all the life processes. It can perform all the functions necessary to maintain a life. So this was a small introduction for all you young minds so that you can think how beautiful and how efficiently a living body functions. Thank you.